Are you ready to shatter ceilings, to redefine what's possible in your life and business? Then welcome to the Beyond Woman podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of empowerment, the art of crafting a lifestyle business that truly serves you, and the tools to unlock your most authentic, powerful self. I'm your host, Jacqueline Walker Johnson, and here we celebrate the women who are rewriting the rules, the visionaries carving their own paths, and the experts who are sharing their hard-won wisdom to guide us all. Join us for intimate conversations with women who are not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. Women who have the expertise and the sheer grit to empower you to step into your limitless potential. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and transformed. This is the Beyond Woman podcast. Let's begin. This conversation is sponsored by Events and More by Carla Peterkin. Your event, your vision, elevated to perfection. At Events and More, we create unforgettable experiences tailored to your unique style, budget, and expectations. Whether it's a dream wedding, corporate gala, high-profile fundraiser, conference, or an intimate private event, we bring creativity and precision to every detail. Founder Carla Peterkin is a seasoned event planner with over a decade of experience turning ideas into spectacular realities. Her passion for crafting memorable moments shines in every event she designs. Let's bring your vision to life stress-free. Contact us today at eventsandmore2, that's #2, @gmail.com. Let's start planning your next extraordinary event. Today we're talking to Dawn Petgrave-Smith, a dedicated Jamaican Psychological Society member with an impressive academic background, holding a Master of Arts in Christian Counseling Psychology, a Master of Arts in Forensic Psychology, and degrees in Education and Theology. As a licensed associate psychologist and certified trauma specialist, she specializes in various counseling therapies, including grief, trauma, domestic violence, depression, and anxiety. In addition to her clinical work, Dawn serves on the board of visitors for the St. Catherine Correctional Centre, where she empowers inmates and hopes to influence rehabilitation policies. As a talented entrepreneur, she is the CEO and founder of D'Marie Institute Ltd, the founder of D'Marie Therapy, and the visionary behind L.I.F.E Centre and MenTell Foundation for Men. Combining her extensive training and professional experience with a warm, engaging personality, Dawn is a reliable, detail-oriented, and multi-talented professional committed to enhancing the success of her clients and projects. Welcome, Dawn, Mrs. Smith, Dawn Petgrave-Smith, who is not a stranger to our platform. As a matter of fact, our last podcast, which was recorded in 2023, was entitled Life Interrupted with Dawn Marie Petgrave. You were only Petgrave then. And so I want to take the opportunity to congratulate you on the new happenings. You're now Mrs. Smith, but I know you will share a little bit more about that in a little bit. So in that podcast, we had talked about betrayal, we had talked about divorce, we had talked about losing your business, and also faith and the part that it played. And we talked about so many things. And when I thought about who I should ask to come on and talk about love and standards, what Caribbean women shouldn't settle for, you are the only person that I thought about. And so I just want to welcome you back again to the platform. Like I said, I was privy to some great news, which I am going to allow you to just bring us up to date on what has been happening in your life.
Thank you. And thank you for having me again, and congratulations on the amazing work that you're doing with the magazine and the podcast. So yes, since we last spoke, we spoke 2023, and I'm not even sure what date, but December 2023, my business was robbed. So I'm not sure if we spoke before or it might have been before. So in addition to all those things that had happened, here goes more losses. So we were able to restart D'Marie Institute. And by December, the place was robbed, Jackie, broken into robbed. And I think for me, that was, all right, God, what am I not hearing? What am I missing? And so I decided I was just going to get quiet. I was going to lock down, shut down everything and move away to the country. I have a property up in the country, and that's where I have been. But that journey has taken me on a deeper self-discovery. I'm always a person who does many self-reflection, but this was different. This was so different. And out of that came love. And I think I gave myself permission to love because I was fully healed from things that I thought I probably was healed, but not truly healed. And being able to get to that place where I was in God. I've always loved the Lord. I've always studied. But like I said, the year 2024 for me was solitude. And so Christmas morning, 2024, I was able to say I do to the love of my life. And I'm just absolutely grateful.
Oh, that is so wonderful. I'm so happy for you because I have been privy to some of the challenges that you have faced. And I mean, it is just
Yeah.
amazing when God turns things around for us, you know? And like I said, I am so happy for you. And that is why, as I said before, I feel like you are the perfect person for us to talk about love and standards and what Caribbean women
Mhm.
shouldn't settle for. So why is it that we're talking about it? Why is it necessary? You know, many women settle in relationships due to cultural norms or societal pressure. And I love to start with a little bit of statistics that I found on Barbados Today, Caribbean Development's website. Well, actually, it's the Caribbean News Service. And it says in the Caribbean, gender-based violence remains a significant issue, with studies indicating that up to 55% of women aged 15 to 64 have experienced some form of violence. Specifically in Grenada, approximately 29% of women have faced intimate partner violence, aligning with global statistic that 1 in 3 women will experience physical and or sexual violence in their lifetime. These alarming figures underscore the critical importance of us advocating for higher standards and refusing to settle for abusive or inequitable relationships. And so empowering Caribbean women to recognize their worth and demand respect is essential in combating these pervasive issues. And that is why we're here talking today. While we're not necessarily talking about violence in relationships, we must be able to say why it is important for us to have healthy relationships. So let's start with talking about understanding self-worth, the basis of a healthy relationship. What is self-worth and why is the foundation and why is it the foundation of healthy relationships? And maybe you can just include the difference between self-worth versus self-esteem in relationships.
So when we talk about self-worth, we're talking about how you value and respect yourself as an individual, right? What do you think you are worthy of? And many times women settle because they don't think they're worthy of more, right? They don't think they're worthy of more. And so how you see yourself is how you're telling others how to treat you. So every day you get up, how you treat yourself, the things you tolerate, the things you accept, you're telling people how to treat you. And so, and I know we're not talking about the violence, but it is so prevalent in the Caribbean to the point where it almost seems like a norm for women to just put up with so many mal behaviors of their counterpart. And so understanding your self-worth is going to set a foundation if you are to have a healthy relationship, whether it's a intimate relationship or any form of relationship. Self-worth needs to be the epitome of your understanding of who you are.
Mm-hmm. And, here in the Caribbean, well, not just in the Caribbean, but generally we are impacted by cultural influences, but I want to speak specifically about how our upbringing and how our cultural influences shape how we as women see love and relationships.
Yeah, so when you think about the Caribbean, I'll speak to Jamaica because I am Jamaican. It's so diverse. And so the motto in Jamaica is out of many one people because we have different races that that comes together. And so we have the Chinese, we have the whites, we have the Indians, and all of them come with some form of cultural background that makes up the melting pot of Jamaica, right? And then Caribbean women, because this is also very diverse throughout the Caribbean. And so even when you look, I thought about myself when I thought about myself, and I'm like, okay, what view did I have as a woman growing up? And what I saw was my mother stayed home. She did all the house chores. I've never seen my father even washing a dish. I've never experienced that, right? And my father went to work, but then there was the other children outside of the marriage, and then you have to deal with all of that. And it almost creates something as a child growing up that is the norm. You're going to get married, but understand that the man is going to have some children outside. It wasn't until I leave Jamaica at 18 years old to go away to study, and I now come in contact with different families and realize that that was not their norm, and we didn't necessarily need to settle for this. And so a woman's reputation in the Caribbean is often tied to her relationship choices, right? And how we demonstrate loyalty, right? Anytime you ask a man what you're looking for, boy, I want a woman with loyal, and they expect us to be loyal, all right? But is that being reciprocated for Caribbean women? And so with all the diversity, we see that it definitely influences how relationships are held. Now we're seeing a lot of differences because social media, we have globalization, the whole world is open up at your fingertip. And we are seeing how different families live. We're seeing different cultures. We're seeing how they relate. And now persons can now decide what it is that they want for themselves. So very important and very, very, very good question, as a matter of fact.
You mentioned the fact that, everything is global and we're open and, we're able to see how other countries, how their cultural, their norms affect their relationships. So do you think that is positively impacting the Caribbean region? Do you see a shift away from, as you said, the loyalty? Not to say that women shouldn't be loyal, but you understand what I'm getting at, the fact that we're supposed to be loyal, but it is not supposed to be an expectation of ours for our partners to be loyal. Do you see that changing?
I see somewhat of a change, especially in the younger men, mostly ages, let's say 28 up to about 45. I think that generation is shifting because they're becoming more savvy, and a lot of them are now into self-development and self-growth. A lot of our younger men are also into reading and exploring, and they're also into financial literacy. And one of the things that is often taught in financial literacy for a man is that you will achieve your goals more quickly when you choose one woman, commit to her, and both of you grow and develop together. So I think more younger men they're seeing the impact of that, right? Of settling with one person. I don't know if settling is a good word, but, choosing one person, making life with that one person is in your best interest for your own growth and development. Versus you have all these other females, that you're taking care of. It is so much harder for you to achieve your goals because you're spending here, there, and everywhere. So you don't get to see the true value of what you can accomplish, right? So yes, I definitely see a shift. As far as the older ones, I think some persons are already stuck in their mindset, and you're not going to win everybody. Before I got married, I went out to dinner with a gentleman. And of course, I'm getting to know him and I'm asking questions. So, you're not dating anybody, you're not in a serious relationship. And he goes, well, I have a little young girl, that I'm talking with for about 5 years. So I said, wait a minute, why are you at dinner with me? Why did you ask me out? And he was just floored. It was like, what's the big deal? I'll take care of you. What's the big deal? And I was so embarrassed that, wait a minute, you want me to become a concubine? But he didn't say it that way. He saw it as legitimately, look, I'll take care of you. Why are you, even getting upset about this? But that was not my standard. I didn't want to be one of many. I believe in love, and I chose to wait until I could have found someone who have shared value, right? And who's also understand that later on in life, you're going to need that companionship. And that's going to be important for you. And you're not going to get that when you're out with Jane, Jenny, Dawn, Jackie, and everybody else, because eventually people are going to move on. All right. So, yeah.
I wanted to backtrack a little bit. I want to ask again, the self-esteem. How is it that our self-esteem affect the way that we choose our partners?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a quote that says, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. And I totally believe that. And so when I got that, Jackie, when that became real to me, was when I recognized, wait a minute, Dawn, you are attracting this to yourself, which means that if you want something different, you have to change. So I changed. I was okay with spending time by myself. I was okay with being my own happiness. I was okay with being my own company. And until you get to that place and you're not expecting love to come from an external factor, you are going to show up differently. And when you show up differently, you vibrate differently, and therefore you attract differently. So it's very important that we look within ourselves and be brutally honest. Sometimes we're not brutally honest with ourselves. Find out exactly what are the downfalls, right? It's kind of like you see a woman, she may move out of an abusive relationship and move into another abusive relationship and another one. And you wonder, well, why you keep attracting these people to you? You have to change. Work on you. We can't change other people. The only element you can change is yourself.
And knowing what it is that you want, right? What's the difference between having a high self-worth and being seen as too picky or too independent?
Well, self-worth, having a high self-worth is putting value on who you are. For me, I like excellence. Earlier we were talking and you said you like dressing up. I like dressing up. I like looking my best. My motto is you only have one opportunity to make a first impression. And so I always want to ensure that I give my best. That's self-worth for me. I like excellence. All right. Being too picky, you may have, oh, he's too short. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. Well, I don't like that. I don't like the beard. And you find fault with everything. And many times I realize that people who are too picky, they themselves don't know what they want. So this is why you can't settle. You don't know how to make a choice because you're just way too picky. Being too independent. I don't know if there's a thing as being too independent. I think independence in a woman is extremely important. However, I think a woman still needs to understand that you're still expected to be feminine. Men are attracted to the feminine side of a woman. So I did a talk show recently and we were talking about the inclusivity of women in money in the financial matters of the home. And a caller called in and she says, well, I'm 65 years old. I make my own money. I don't need a man. I pay my bills and I'm quite fine. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you are in the race of looking for love and a relationship, too independent is going to become a detriment to you because a real man, like a masculine man, is going to see that as another man and he's not going to be attracted to that. And so if a woman is interested in attracting love to her life, understand that your greatest power lies in showing up in your feminine. That does not take away from your independence.
I love it. So in other words, we should have a balance, eh? We should have a little bit
Yeah.
all of being having a high self-worth. I don't know. I have a different view on the too picky, and being too independent. So we need to just strike a balance. We need to find a balance. In other words, that's what you're saying. Love
Definitely.
it. I love it. All right. So we're going to talk about red flags. What are some of the red flags that indicate that a woman is settling for less than she deserves? Let's talk about that.
Well, if somebody's not treating you the way you think you deserve to be treated, that's a red flag. And you know what? We need to understand the power that we carry as a woman. God gave us this thing called intuition. We call it your gut feeling. Sometimes your gut feeling is just telling you that that's something something just not feel right. Pay attention. But many women miss the red flags because they are so caught up in I don't want to be alone. I'm lonely. So they're just gonna settle, right? So if you're being treated poorly, you're making excuses for staying. You see very well that this is not good for you, but you're making excuses for staying. You're compromising too much. You're compromising who you are, right? If you're not being true to yourself, if you're feeling unhappy, if you're feeling unfulfilled in the relationship, all those things are red flag. And when you see them, ladies, stop, do some self-reflection, and move away. Move away from that situation. And remember, you're not responsible for changing the other person. And this is another problem again, Jackie. I think women go into relationships seeing the red flags and thinking, oh, I can't change him. You can't change a man. You can't. You understand? So if you see these things, you have to ask yourself, can I live with that for the rest of my life? And the other point I would make is that when you're not at your best, and you know that you're not at your best, it is not the time to make such a important decision as to a relationship. You understand what I'm saying? One question I always ask myself, Dawn, if you were at your utmost best, would you go out with this person? I always ask myself that question. And if I have any hesitation in answering, I know that I should not be going out with that person. So again, we go back to self-love and raising the bar on our self-worth. And don't ignore those red flags.
I love it. Like I just love this conversation. I know, like I'm thinking about it and I don't know if I should say that we're not wired that way, or maybe it goes straight back to the cultural traditions, things, how we've been brought up, the fact that there are certain things that are not as important as others, and so the things that we should focus on wanting or demanding in a relationship, it's so hard for us, because that's not how we were brought up. But if you want, I suppose if you want
to... Times have changed. Right. Times have changed, Jackie. Times have changed and people have evolved. One of my clients, she's going through a situation with her husband, found out about some infidelity and shared with her mom. And her mom's advice is, in putting them on you? No. Well, you need to stay home because me did go through my problem with your father. I don't know if that's the best advice to advise someone. And again, when I hear women say, oh, I don't like reading, it really, really cuts me deep because somebody else have had this experience that we are experiencing now, and somebody else has put it in a book, So we need to be intentional about our own growth and development. And it's going to take work. It's going to take work. And we don't need to do it alone. That's another problem we have. We think it has to be me. No, we don't have to do it alone. If you know that you're not strong in one area, seek help. Get somebody to shoulder with you. Get another sister to shoulder with you, so that you can grow and you can get to the place of self-worthiness that you need to be.
Yeah, I love it. It's just hard choices, but it's the best choices that we should make for ourselves if we want to have healthy relationships. All right,
Yeah.
so we wanted to move on to our next segment, which deals with the standards Caribbean women should never compromise on. I think this is going to be such an important part of the discussion. So we want to start off with respect and emotional safety. And we're saying that love shouldn't come with disrespect. It shouldn't come with manipulation or emotional neglect. Why is emotional safety just as important as financial safety in a relationship, Dawn?
Well, first of all, let's just state that love is gentle and love is kind. So when a person loves another person, they're not going to neglect them and they're not going to treat them bad because love is gentle and love is kind. I think we put so much value on, especially in the Caribbean, the man must take care of family. He must take care of family and the woman must respect him. But nobody talks about the emotions, all right? Because if a woman is not emotional well, she's not going. I think many men just don't get that. Everything for a woman is emotion. We are emotional beings, right? We are emotional beings. And so we respond emotionally. So if we should even use sex, okay? Sex for a woman, if a woman is not being treated well, you're not going to get the best part of her sexually, right? So just like how you see the finances as important, if I'm okay, you speaking to me softly and respectfully, you asking me how I was, how I am, how is my day, how is my heart doing, those things are just as important as paying the bills. They're just as important because there's no sense in you have the biggest house, you have all the money in the world, and you have no peace and no comfort and no safety.
Exactly.
None of it is going to mean anything else. But and you know what, Jackie? You can have a woman who don't have the house and don't have the car and don't have all the material things, but has a man who is emotionally available to her, and that woman is the happiest woman. The home, they could be in a one-room hut, and that is the best space for them. This man will look forward to running home, and this woman would look forward to being there. And so I think persons have to get to the place where they understand what is most important to me. Again, in the Caribbean, we hear take care of them, take care of the home, but nobody talks about take care of your woman emotionally. When a woman feels safe, a man gets anything he wants from her, anything. When a woman feels emotionally safe.
I have to agree with you on that. And I really appreciate that because I have a daughter, right? And I want her to have the best relationship possible that is filled with love and respect and the safety that we're talking about. So it is important. All right. So we want to move on to financial partnership in a relationship. And should we break the stereotype that women must hold it down while men get away with the bare minimum? I don't know if that is what we're experiencing now. I don't know if it is necessarily for the Caribbean, but I do know that there are certain regions where the woman is really the person who is heading the household, right? What role should financial relationship play in our modern Caribbean relationships? Because you know that a lot of our women, they're very independent, as we talked about. They don't need a man. They can deal with themselves. So what role should financial relationships play in modern Caribbean relationships? Should the woman even consider moving into being the providers and no longer the nurturers?
Well, Jackie, let me tell you this. I have 2 master's degree and pursuing a PhD right now. And if I get the opportunity to only be Mrs. Simmons, that's all I will be. I'm just going to throw that out there, but that's me. So when it comes to finances within a relationship, that is something that 2 people need to come together and agree on. Because what may work for one may not work for the other. Okay. You may have women who I want to work and I want to hold it down. You may, and that's okay with the husband, right? You may have a woman who may make more and the husband choose to stay home or contribute however he can. So when it comes to money, this is something that two people in the relationship needs to decide on. This is not a cultural thing or what society says or what this is. Look, is you're going to have to live with it. So you have to come to that decision. And so many relationships tear apart because of money, because people just never discuss these things, have real conversation. Okay, here is what I bring to the table. Here is what you bring. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? All right. So with that, I feel that the two persons need to come together and decide how are we going to handle our finances in the relationship. I hear women, them hiding the money or talk about it. What may work for another couple may not work for somebody else. So this is something that people definitely should talk about it. And guess what? Don't wait until you're living in a home with somebody. When you're dating the person, this is a conversation. How do you handle money? How do you think we should handle money in a relationship? That was one question I asked my husband because, you know, I am who I am. I do what I do. And I asked him, I said, how do you think money should be handled in the relationship? And my husband is very traditional, very, very traditional. And it was like, what do you mean? You're my wife. I take care of you. You know what I mean? If you want to work, you work. But it is my responsibility as your husband to take care of you. So that gave me freedom because, Jackie, I don't know a woman who, no matter how much money, no matter how much independence you have, if you don't have to go do a thing, it makes it a little bit easier. So when I wake up today, if I don't, quote unquote, have to go work, I think it makes my work even nicer because I know that that pressure of, oh my God, I've got to do that work and become need the money to pay the bills. I mean, it makes it so much easier. So people come together in the relationship, talk about money. If you should ask me, okay, what is your opinion? I love tradition, as in, I believe that women, we were born nurturers. It's innate inside of us. So when I can automatically take care of the home and do all, I love doing those things. It is my joy to do those things. That's not the same for every woman. So again, have the conversation with the person and both of you decide on what is it going to be. And if something is working for you, who cares what anybody else thinks? It's working for both of you.
I love the perspective that you have brought to this question because, you know, I think predominantly if I were to go on social media or have conversations with individuals, they would be saying go the traditional route of men being the provider and women being the nurturer. And then there's another take on that because you said it yourself, women, we are nurturers. And so it means that even if we're going to become the breadwinner or the financial provider, we're still innately going to want to nurture. And so it creates a situation that can, you know, push us over into overwhelm, you know. So I agree with you that communication is important. It has to, because also in other countries, you know, it makes sense. Sometimes, depending on what each individual does, that the woman goes out and the man stay and take care of the house. So, as you rightly said, it is all about communicating and knowing what is important so that everybody can flourish, right? Another thing that
absolutely.
Another thing that we want to talk about that women should not compromise on is mutual growth and ambition. Why a relationship should push you forward, not hold you back? And how can a woman recognize when a relationship is stunting her personal and professional growth?
Kofi Annan said when women are empowered, all of society thrive. And I love that quote because it is such a powerful and truthful statement, right? Women, because we carry a womb, we naturally can multiply, right? So if a woman has the ability to do something, it is in her partner's best interest to support her. Give her that support, because when she grows, you're going to grow. That's facts right there, right? I remember in a conversation with my husband, when we were just talking, and he said to me, "Tell me a little bit about you." This is our second conversation. He said, so tell me a little bit about you. So I said, well, just go Google my name. You'll see everything you need to know, the good, the ugly, and the indifference, right? And he goes, okay. And he came across D'Marie Institute, and he saw the website, and then he saw that classes are currently canceled. And he says, wait, this is an amazing website. How long have you been doing this business? And he's asking me all these questions. And then he says this, what do I need to do to help you to do more of that? Wow. Jackie, you realize that a man never asked me that. And I thought, what you mean? And he goes, no, if you have the talent to create this. And then he started looking, because, now you're Googling me, you're seeing all these other things coming up. He saw the work I'm doing in the prison, and he goes, no. Tell me, what do you need? What do you need to do more of this? Now, I think we need more men to see our women. Some men get jealous of the fact that a woman might be smart, intelligent, powerful, but that should not make you jealous. That should empower you to do even more for her, because, bro, she's your girl. So when people, she's getting all these hype, and that's my girl. And guess what? You would have been the influence of that. Do you understand the privilege it is of all the people in the world to be that man that gets to help this woman to reach her full potential? That right there is priceless. So as a woman, don't let anybody hold you back or tear you down. Don't allow that. Walk away if you need to. Be okay with being by yourself if that's what it takes to be able to get to your full potential. When you know it's love is when somebody is going to come and they're going to support you. I stopped at a nail shop recently because I couldn't get to my nail tech, and the young lady, she was talking about her husband called, and I said, how long are you married? And she said about 8 years, and she said, my husband take care of me, miss. And I said, really? And she's doing my nails, and she said, yeah, I just went to high school and I not even want to see me never have when me meet my husband. And he was going to university when I met him, and I'm a high school dropout. And he said, babes, what do you want to do with your life? And she told him that she would love to go learn nails. And he sent her back to evening class for her to do all her CXCs. And then he sent her to go do her nails. And he graduated college and got a job. He married her. And now he opened up a salon for her. This lady is so excited. She's like, Miss, will do anything for my husband. She said, all of them other men look me like to look for them because my husband helped me reach where I am. So why am I sharing this story? I'm sharing this story because it is in your best interest to help your woman to get to the best version of herself. That's it.
I love it. Like, I so love it. And while you're saying that, it is also for us to not compromise on our growth,
Absolutely.
So the next one that we want to kind of talk about is boundaries and non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
As women, we must have those, right? How to set and
yes.
relationship standards. So what are some of the practical ways to set and enforce relationship boundaries?
Well, first of all, Jackie, you have got to know what you want and what you stand for. Because if you don't stand for something, you're just going to settle for anything. All right. Me, I'm up at 5 a.m. So 9 o'clock, I'm in bed. 9 o'clock, I'm in bed. My body's shut down because I'm up early. That's a boundary for me. I can't have people calling me 10, 12, 11 o'clock. As a matter of fact, my phone goes into sleep mode at 9 o'clock. Every screen turns black. You can't get me except my children is on override. So that's one boundary for myself. And I remember, meeting someone and he goes, "Oh, you go to bed too early, man. And you want to call me 11 o'clock." That doesn't work for me because I have to be up at 5 a.m. That's when I do my devotions and do my reading and go to the gym and take care of me. Those things are extremely important to me. So ensure that, whatever the things are for you, for me, and I don't know if this is being picky. First of all, I have terrible spinal, so I can't be around somebody that smokes. So I know for sure that I cannot date somebody that smoke. That's not my thing. So I don't care how amazing you are and how much money you want to give me and whatever. If you're a smoker, it's just a deal breaker for me. But you see, I know the things that I don't want, right? No, there's some women that they just don't know. They just don't know. And this is why they don't set boundaries for themselves. I'm not afraid to correct something that doesn't feel right or to check it per se. So if I hear somebody make a comment or speak to me a certain way, respectfully, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say, respectfully, I didn't appreciate how you spoke to me. I'm known to be a very calm person. It's my personality. I'm not into the cussing and huffing and puffing, but I'm not going to ignore someone speaking to me or belittling me. But again, I know what I stand for. So some of the practical things that I would say to women is first, take time out to know what you like and what you don't like. Pay attention to, again, here we come back to gut feeling. Pay attention to your gut feeling. How does something make you feel? All right. And if it means that you need to start by writing things down, what I like, what I don't like, then start right there. But you have to have some form of boundaries for yourself. Or think about this. People are going to treat you the way you treat you. I remember a wake-up call for me, Jackie, was I'm vegetarian. And when my children were younger, on Fridays, we would buy pizza. And it's the Amazing Four or something like that. So there's one section of the Amazing Four that's vegetarian, right? And so I would always serve everybody. As you take care of the husband, you take care of the children. I would always do that. And then if anything left over now, then I would take it. Then I realized that they started treating me this way. So I would buy all these things, and even though I can only eat a slice from the vegetarian, if somebody wants it, they would just eat it, because guess what? Mom always put us first. That was a wake-up call for me. So you know what I start doing? Friday nights, when the pizza is delivered, I take out the 3 slices of vegetarian and I put them aside, and then I let them have the rest. I put my foot down. I started closing the bathroom door. Simple things like that. As a mother, when the children were young, I would leave the bathroom door open just so in case something happened to them, I could run out, right? And then I realized these kids are big grown kids now. When they're in the bathroom, they lock the door. I can't go in. In the bathroom, they're asking me, "Mom, why is the bathroom door locked?" Excuse me? So Jackie, I had to start making some simple rules, call them what you want, for myself, so that I could now set better boundaries. So now I know I don't want that. I don't want that. This is a deal breaker. So if I see those things, I am not even going to push myself there. But if you don't know what you want, you won't even identify that somebody's actually doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it goes back to the saying, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything, right? And the point is that when we set boundaries, it just simply allows us to lead better lives, point blank.
That's right. Absolutely.
Exactly. All right. So the other one is, I think this is the last one, breaking the ride or die mentality. Love should not require unnecessary suffering. How has the ride or die mentality hurt more women than it has helped?
There are women who I have seen men done some things to them, and you'll hear them say, well, it's my ride or die. Well, what exactly does that mean? The JCF some years ago did this campaign called Love Me to Live. Not, how they say, I love you to death. They were talking about domestic violence. It was a campaign against domestic violence. And I think that's how we need to view our relationships. Love me to live. So if you are my partner, it shouldn't be that I am the one getting all the bruised. As a matter of fact, love is not going to just bruise you. Love will correct you, but love is not going to bruise you. So we need to now get to the place where we ask ourselves, is this person loving me? Is this what love really is? But before you can answer that question, you have to know what loving you looks like. Because Jackie, loving you may be different from loving Dawn. So you first have to understand, what do I consider love? And then remember, we have persons who they come into relationship with so much childhood traumas. We call them ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And then they become people pleaser because they fear the person leaving them, right? So again, also that impact your attachment style. So some persons come in with fearful, avoidant attachment style. So no matter what this person is doing, their fear of being alone, they're going to hang on to that person for dear life. The next thing I see is the level of dependency. So when you depend solely on this person, you depend on them to make you happy, you depend on them to pay the bills, you depend on them to take care of you. Now you're going to put up with some powerful things because you're not independent to be able to walk away from that and to live a more healthier life. So ride or die? I don't know, Jackie. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. This segment has been so good. So much things that we talked about during the segment, but we want to move on to the third one. And it really is wrapping up and, everything in a nice little bundle. And it is how to elevate your love standards. So what are the biggest fears or some of the biggest fears women face when choosing to walk away from an unhealthy relationship? I believe we just talked about some of them, the attachment, fear of being alone, but you can expound.
Yeah, definitely. Fear of being alone, fear of safety, financial instability, right? Isolation. Some persons just don't want to be alone, as well as if there are children involved. A lot of persons don't want to, kind of fear of losing their children or social stigma. A lot of people, Jackie, you would not believe how many people stay in unhealthy relationship because of fear of what people going to say, especially in the churches. And I know we're not talking about religion in this, but let me tell you, you would be amazed to know how many persons stay in an unhealthy relationship because of fear of what people are going to say.
And
Unfortunately,
we're leaving it at that.
We're leaving it right there.
All right. We want to talk about a mindset shift, right? And you mentioned the fear of being alone just now. So replacing fear of being alone with confidence in waiting for the right love. Let's talk about that. How can some of our self-love practices, because you would have mentioned some of those earlier, help women set and maintain better relationship standards?
When you start loving yourself better, certain things are not going to entice you anymore. And that's first, okay? When we shift the mindset of how we see ourselves, the universe shifts for you. And that's where it starts. Every behavior begins with a thought. So persons have to get to the place where they start believing that I am better than this. I am worthy of a better life. I am deserving of love. I am deserving of this. I'm deserving of that. Because the subconscious mind, the only role of the subconscious mind is to give you things that you constantly think about. So this is why you'll hear some person say, boy, when it rains, it pours. Because if you start thinking about one bad thing, it becomes a ripple effect of bad things. That's because the role of the subconscious mind is only to put form to the things that you feed it. So why not shift your mindset then? Human beings are the only animal per se that has the ability to shift your mind. If you shift your mind, you shift your reality. And that's just the fact right there. What I realize is that many persons are not willing to do the work that it takes to become better. Healing hurts. Okay, healing hurts because it is going to take hard work. If you're overweight, it's going to take hard work to stop eating all the fatty food, to go for a walk or to go to the gym. Those things, it's not the easiest thing to do. But if you tell yourself that I am deserving of good health, automatically the subconscious mind is going to shift your thinking. And once your mind is shifted, the body has to react. Because remember, the mind and the body is inseparable. All right. So that's the first thing that I would tell people. Shift how you see yourself. Take the time out to love on you. You can start with simple, just looking in the mirror. I love you. I appreciate you. Start with something as simple as that. Start with journaling, writing down your thoughts. How are you feeling today? Start with walking. Start with pampering yourself. You may not have the money to join a gym. Go walking, go swimming. It's the little things that are going to make a big difference in your life. But it is so important that we shift your mindset, because until your mindset is shifted and you believe that you are deserving and you're worthy of more, you will continue to attract the same things in your life.
Powerful. So powerful. Earlier you spoke about catering to your kids. And generally speaking, women, we tend to cater to everybody else outside of ourselves. And when we think about changing, there's a little bit of guilt that becomes involved in the whole process. How can women raise their standards without feeling guilty?
What a brilliant question, Jackie. When you're traveling, they always tell you that the plane may lose oxygen, and if that happens, the oxygen mask is going to fall, and you need to put it on yourself first before you attempt to help anybody. That is where women need to get. I think society has taught us that if we take care of ourselves, we're selfish. That is not true. Self-love is not selfish. Self-love is being smart. And when you spend time loving you, you can help more people. Because if I put my oxygen mask on, it means that I am getting the oxygen that I need in order to help you. But if I don't do that, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I think women need to walk away from the stigma that they're being selfish for taking care of themselves. Now, I'm not saying to be stupid, spending the money to go get a new outfit or a new this and your children need shoes. Or I'm not saying those things, but I'm saying just like you care for everybody, you need to care for you first. The heart's role is to pump blood through the body, but the heart pumps blood to itself first. We have to develop that mindset where we recognize that when I take care of me first, it is going to make me better able to take care of everybody else that needs taken care of.
I love it. I love it. And what a powerful way to end the conversation. Take care of yourself in order to take care of others, right? And I just want to...
Absolutely.
I got so much from this, right? And I just want to share a little bit of, what I've been writing down, things that resonated with me and hopefully with our listeners. So it's knowing who we are, understanding that having a shared value in a relationship is important. If you're not at your best, you really shouldn't make any decisions about relationships. Heal yourself first, get beyond that, and then allow things to fall in place. Financial responsibility is always evolving in a relationship, and we must find someone to support our growth and us realizing our potential. I love this one. People are going to treat you the way you treat yourself. Such a powerful thought, right? No compromise on your boundaries, and understand and know what loving you looks like. I leave this one with the listeners. Shift your mindset and you will shift your reality. Powerful, powerful takeaways. And there was so much more. And I just want to thank you so much, Dawn. Now I understand why you were foremost in my thought as it relates to this conversation, because you have contributed so much. I want to encourage our listeners to redefine love on their terms, based on all of what Dawn shared in this conversation. Decide on what is important for you and make sure that you create the boundaries that are necessary in order for you to lead astounding lives. And I would like to leave this challenge with all of our Beyond Women. What is one standard? Think about it. What is one standard you will no longer compromise on? And I want you to share this with us on social media, or just send us in a short note to the Beyond Woman magazine at gmail.com. Dawn Petgrave Smith, thank you so much for once again coming on and sharing your expertise, your knowledge in this area. I don't know if there is anything that you want to leave with our listeners. Any final thoughts?
You're worthy. I just want women to understand that you're worthy. And as you know, I just launched my magazine, A New Dawn, and it speaks to love, finding love, but first finding self-love. And so, self-love is the beginning of a beautiful romance. And, encourage persons. And, Jackie, I'll send you the link. Maybe you could share it also. But you are worthy. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your past. It doesn't matter the situation, the external factors around you. You are worthy.
Absolutely. Wonderful conversation. Thank you so much again, Dawn. And listeners, she didn't really expound too much on her new venture, the magazine. It's called Dawn.
Yes.
So we will include all of that information in the notes that accompany this podcast. Thank you so much again, Dawn. Really, really appreciate you and appreciate the work that you're doing. You also have your own conversation going, Men Talk.
MenTell, right? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. So MenTell is all things men. So it's a nonprofit foundation that is built on 3 pillars. It's mental wellness, financial literacy, and leadership for men, because we realize that, well, again, society taught men not to speak up. And so many of our men are suffering in silence, and MenTell creates a safe space for them to be able to grow and develop and becoming their best selves. I sit on the board of visitors for the St. Catherine Correctional Centre, which is the Spanish Town prison in Jamaica. And so I get to go to the prison every month and, talk with inmates. And again, Jackie, most of them end up where they are because of lack thereof, lack of leadership, lack of financial literacy, lack. And so MenTell, we hope to be able to bridge that gap. And so we're very, very excited about its development and really looking forward to be able to doing more free opportunities, free webinars, free conferences where persons can actually get the necessary information that they need. So if there's a woman listening and she feels that there's a man in her life, whether it's a young man, a father, a spouse, and she would love for them to be able to talk with someone, persons can send us an email at mentell2024@gmail.com or just send us a message on social media, mentell24.
I love it. And such a needed contribution to,
yes,
as it relates to men and mental health and wellness.
Mental health.
They're oftentimes overlooked. And so I must comment on the fact that you are contributing to that space. Really, really a good thing. All right. So thank you again, Dawn, for coming on, and we will definitely stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. And again, Jackie, congratulations on the work that you're doing. Take care.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this episode of the Beyond Woman podcast. I hope you're leaving feeling inspired and ready to take action. Remember, you are capable of so much more than you think. Keep pushing those boundaries, keep learning, and keep believing in your limitless potential. We want to stay connected with you, so be sure to follow us on social media at The Beyond Woman Magazine for daily inspiration and behind-the-scenes content, and to join our growing community of empowered women. Visit us at www.thebeyondwomanmag.com and www.thebeyondwoman.com, where you will find more resources and articles to support you in your journey. Sign up for our newsletters and be the first to know about our exclusive events and for more opportunities to connect. To all my Caribbean sisters, let's lift each other up. Share this episode with the women in your life who need to hear this message, and let's continue to build this powerful network together. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review on this app. Your support helps us to reach more women. Thank you for being part of the Beyond Woman movement. Keep shining, keep growing, and keep living your extraordinary life.